One is signed. I read King of Greed and you know I had to buy it. Hey guys, it's Ems and welcome back to my reading room. Today we are going to be doing my July wrap up and August TBR. In the month of August, I had a lot of stuff going on. I posted a couple videos, but I had so much fun reading. I ended up reading 11 books. I really dug into 3 specific series by Anna Huang this month, so a lot of those books did end up being Anna Huang books, which we will get into. I also read 1 Catherine Center book and 1 fantasy book. So let's get into my July wrap up. The first book I read in July was the 3rd book in the Twisted series. This is Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. If you're wondering about the first 2, Twisted Love and Twisted Games, those are in my June wrap up. After you see the rest of my feelings on the Twisted series, you can check that out, my June wrap up from last month. Twisted Hate, I gave a 4 stars. I really enjoyed the banter and forced proximity between Josh and Jules in this book. They are sister's best friend trope and then best friend's brother trope, same trope from each perspective. There are 2 tropes in this book that I don't like in any book. I don't want to say what they are because I would rather you go into it blind, but if you look up the tropes, like, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. Nothing crazy, it's just like a specific trope that I personally don't like. I really did enjoy Josh and Jules in general. There's some stuff that goes on with Josh that I don't like. I was like, dude, pull it together. But I did give it a 4 stars, so there's nothing that I could totally be like, no, don't read it because of this. Like, I read it and I ate it up and it was such good plot to the story. It's just not a plot that I specifically enjoy. In Twisted Hate, you have Josh and Jules who are very enemies. They do not like each other and you see them get kind of forced proximity. They go on a trip together and then they also have to work together at one point. And you just see that. That's what I'll give you. Like, you really are just seeing them kind of go through life at this point in time, and you just see them, if they get together, if they don't get together, if they get together and then don't be together. The next book that I read is actually the fantasy. I read the 2nd book in the Powerless trilogy. I read Reckless! This is what we've all been waiting for. We all waited until July 2nd and we got in our cars and we went and drove to Barnes & Noble or Amazon or whatever and we read this book. And if you haven't yet, girl, read it. Like, it's time. It's time for you to read it. And if you didn't like it, like, I'm sorry. I am not really going to tell y'all exactly what I think about Reckless because I don't want to spoil anything, especially for people who have not read it yet, but I will get into like some of my complaints or non-complaints, like what I enjoyed. I really liked the banter and the character-driven plot. I super enjoyed that. Though, I think there could have been more to it. There was a lot of plot holes that obviously will probably get filled at another time, but it just felt so dragged on that the plot holes could have been filled. It was so strung that it was like, okay, well, we could have wrapped it up here. Why are we wrapping it up here? That's just how I felt. And it felt very repetitive. I think I would have liked it more if not everything was, we were doing the same thing over and over again. Like, and I understand that happens in a lot of fantasy books in the 2nd one, but why make it a filler when we could just give it some life? And I think it had a lot of life. I really enjoyed it when I read it. I had like no complaints when I first read it, but now it's the end of the month and I've thought about it since then and I've watched other reviews and I've been able to kind of articulate my feelings on it, and that's just how I feel. If you haven't read Reckless or Powerless, I'm going to tell you what Powerless is about so then you can get into Reckless, because if I tell you what Reckless is about, that is a total spoiler. In Powerless or Reckless, you have these 2 groups of people, the ordinaries and the elites. The elites think the ordinaries are bad. They think they're dredging their powers. They do not like them. You have the ordinaries who are just ordinary people. They want to live their lives. They go other places. Then you have Peyton. Peyton isn't ordinary, but she wants to live. So she is kind of pretending to be an elite. She is living in these places with the elites in the slums. She's making sure that she can get through life as an ordinary. Because if the enforcer finds out that she is an ordinary, she will be. You have the enforcer, which you find out is Kai. And then one day, Peyton and Kai meet and she goes to the elites area and ends up in these trials. And then you see what goes on from there. And then you see what goes on into here. But even though I have those complaints, I really enjoyed this book. Buddy read it, I read it, then my friend read it, and we like really enjoyed it together. From that time, I've been able to kind of sit on it and realize like, no, it's not a 5, It is a 4.75 because I liked it more than I liked Powerless, but it wasn't like my favorite read ever. The next book I read, I got right back into the Anna Huang universe. I finished off the Twisted series and read Twisted Lies. Christian Harper, y'all, I ate him up. Him and Stella were like kind of everything to me, and I really enjoyed them. Like if I had to rate the couples, it would definitely be Reese and Bridget and then Stella and Christian. I really enjoyed them. This was a 4.5 for me. I was so enthralled throughout this book. Like I was really like not wanting to put it down. Something that was like very fascinating to me. I really enjoyed, like, it was thick compared to some of the other ones, but I was really like into it. I was reading it at a friend's house and I had so much fun like kind of reading it and like just being around other people reading. I definitely really liked that kind of aspect of it, which I think gave it a situational rating, a 4.5 instead of a 4, but I'm okay with that. We have Stella and Christian. They are banter, they are forced proximity, they are around each other a lot, they're fake dating. There's kind of all those tropes in here, which I find very fun. Stella and Christian meet each other in some of the other books, and then in this book, you see that Stella lives in Christian's apartment building. He owns these apartments, and he's a very security guy. And then one day, something happens to where Stella's past is kind of trudged back up, and she needs somebody to fake date her. And who other than her upstairs neighbor, Christian Harper. And then, yeah, I feel like that's a good summary because I don't want to give you too much, especially with like how thick this book is. I don't want to spoil like anything. So going into knowing it's fake dating, forced proximity, I think that is very key. Now we're getting into the King of Sin series. The next day after I finished Twisted Lies, I immediately picked up King of Wrath. I gave this book a 4.5. It felt very rating similar to Twisted Lies for me. Like the banter and the story that I felt connected to was definitely 4.5. I loved Vivian and Dante was everything. Dante Russo, marry me. Dante Russo be mine. Like, I'm sorry, Vivian. He should be mine. In King of Wrath, you have forced proximity, which I feel like kind of happens a lot in Anna Huang books now that I'm thinking about it. And marriage of convenience. You also kind of have other tropes in here, but those two are kind of the main ones, as you can tell. Little ring. I just was like so obsessed with kind of getting into the first view of like where you're going to be for the rest of the King of Sin series, like the Valhalla Club, I don't know how to say that, Valhalla Club, and just kind of like the world around them instead of the world around Twisted. Like I had so much fun with that. This is about Vivian and Dante. Dante has this big reputation, and one day he gets blackmailed into having to do a marriage of convenience with this guy's daughter being Vivian. You kind of see them have to be forced proximity. You kind of have to see them live together, learn about Vivian's relationship with her family, Dante's relationship with his family, and see them kind of grow to get to know each other. Anna Huang is really good with plot twists, in my opinion. Like she'll like put something in here and my jaw will be dropped. And I just really enjoy her writing. Then we read the next book in the Kings of Sin series. So we have King of Pride. This is Isabel and Kai's story. I really liked Kai in Dante's book. I think seeing him from other people's perspective, I really enjoyed. And then we kind of got into his book. Everyone told me like, oh, you're really gonna like this one. Like that one's my favorite. And I did not like this one as much as I liked at least King of Wrath. It was 4 stars for me, which is still so good because like, obviously, like, I'm eating up the series. I'm reading them all. It's just in the retrospect of Anna Huang books, like this one was not my favorite compared to all the other ones. I really liked Isabella. I thought she was such a powerhouse, and her kind of character development is one that I love reading. Their storyline, I think, just didn't intrigue me as much as other ones do. Just like they were kind of more of like a flowy, like get to the point story, and that's not my favorite. I did really enjoy the forbidden parts of their romance and kind of like what they're not supposed to do, but kind of meet up in that situation as well. In King of Pride, you have Isabella and Kai. Kai is going on to be CEO. He needs these votes. He is trying to win the CEO position of his family business because he doesn't just get it. And then you have Isabella, who is a Valhalla Club bartender. And there is a rule where you cannot get with any of the club members. While Kai is a club member, there's kind of that forbidden aspect. And there is another forbidden aspect with kind of Kai's family. I really enjoyed the jealousy parts and kind of pining over each other in this story. Now we get to my my favorite mom. Now we're talking about my babies. We're getting into lover territory because this is my favorite Anna Huang book ever. I loved King of Greed. This is Alessandra and Dominic's story. I love them so much, and I think it's because I have never read a trope in a book like this. They had so much chemistry, and even though like he's like trying to rekindle their relationship, like you can just feel, I could feel them off the page. Like I literally, like I could feel the tension, I could feel the banter. I felt. That's what I'd say about this book. I felt it all. I am a friends to lovers girly, and you kind of get their past in this book. Their past in this book, like kind of not a past present, it's not a past present timeline, but you really get deep into their past. I can't even talk about this book without being like giddy. Like I'm literally giddy. Like I needed a moment of silence for this book because I loved it so much. It was one of the shorter ones, which actually made me very sad because I wanted more. King of Greed is about Alessandra and Dominic. They are married, but their relationship is failing. Dominic is very into his work life, and he is not paying attention to anything around him. He is very stuck in his own world. And then one day, Alessandra is done. She is getting out of there, she is leaving, and she is not going to be taken for granted anymore. And I love that about her. Watching Alessandra find herself in this book was everything to me. And then kind of seeing Dominic get out of his like mental and figure out what he needs to do to make this work, and the groveling, just everything about them. They just had such a good storyline, and I was literally never wanting to put it down. There was just so much stuff that goes on in here. The book is very fast paced, and it was one that I got through so quickly. I just like could not put it down. And if you couldn't tell, if you don't notice what I'm wearing, I dropped this 2 days after I read King of Greed, and you know I had to buy it. It says Floria Designs and the Pressed Flower Shop, and it was like so perfect in the gold and like the colors, the contrast. Like I'm freaking out over like a sweater because I love the book so much, and I just thought it looks so good together. I will link Threaded by Sabrina in the description. I always do when I wear her merch, but it'll be in the description if you want any bookish sweaters. But you know I loved a book when I immediately went to her website and was like, any merch? And then I found it and I was like, immediate purchase. I literally sat on her website on Friday and was like reloading it until 11, like when it dropped, and then I finally like I just immediately got it, and I was like, I love it so much, and I literally haven't taken it off. Okay, I have taken it off, but I don't want to take it off. It is so comfy, and like she's just so good. That's my thoughts on King of Greed, and then the literal King of Greed merch that I'm wearing right now. And we stick on a high note with Anna Huang, and we get into King of Sloth, which is the latest King of Sloth book because it's the last one out, but there's more coming. King of Sloth 8. This was a 4.75 for me. I really liked Sloane and Xavier. It was quite thick compared to the rest of them, but I ate it up. I really loved Sloane. She was such a powerhouse, and she had these emotions that I really wanted to dig into and just learn about her past. Like the first page, I immediately wanted to know more about her. I really liked Xavier. I thought he was such a book boyfriend. Like he really knew what she needed, and he kind of just knew what to say, knew what to do. And even though they didn't really get along at first, like he was just such a good character, and they were both written so well. What I'll say about this book is I think Anna Huang excelled in her writing in this. Like it felt so different compared to all her other books, and as much as I loved King of Greed and just the writing in that, this one felt like her writing was like 100 times better. It really felt the difference in her writing. In King of Sloth, you have Xavier and Sloane. Sloane is this like she's amazing, excellent PR manager. She works for all the people, and she gets called in and she has to start working for Xavier as his PR manager because he has to get his father's inheritance, and she is trying to make sure that he gets it. And he is just this party boy, like doesn't care, doesn't want to be here, like is just there to do stuff. Here you're kind of just seeing Xavier and Sloane learn everything together. Like you're seeing him learn a lot of stuff, her learn a lot of stuff, but then also learn a lot of stuff like together. We now get into the If Love series by Anna Huang because I literally just went through Anna Huang's backlist. All of the traditionally published ones from Bloom I have read. We do get into her first series. You can definitely see the writing difference, especially because I read King of Sloth, her newest book, and then I went straight into her like first, I don't know if it's her first ever written book, but it's the first like later series. If we ever meet again, I actually did really enjoy I thought Blake and Farrah had such good chemistry at the beginning, and then some stuff goes on, and I just like, I couldn't. I was like, boring, like, no, thank you. Tomato, tomato, tomato. It was a 3.5, maybe 3.5, because I really liked the characters. I loved the setting. Shanghai was such a fun like experience because it kind of felt fun to read like a student abroad. But the romance, I loved their chemistry at the beginning, and then some stuff goes on and I'm like, I just did not like him. It was a fun, quick, fast-paced read. I think I would have given this a little lower if I didn't know there was a duet, because this is the first book about the same characters. And I was like, I think if this was a standalone, I would not have liked it. But because I know there's more, I did enjoy it a little more. And If We Ever Meet Again, you have Farrah and Blake. Blake is a football player who does not want to play football anymore and moves to Shanghai and kind of gets this reputation that he's like not a good guy, kind of just here to party. But you kind of see, you get his perspective and you kind of learn a lot about him. And then you have Farrah, who is this art major. She's kind of wanting to do interior. She's wanting to do art. She wants these like a lot of programs. She has a best friend group and Blake has a best friend group, and those groups kind of mix, and you kind of just see these forced proximity, these friendships. You see a school of people who all came from different descents kind of become a friend group because they are all in this like ELA. A lot of them come from America to go to Shanghai. Friendships in here I loved. Like there was just so much about them. Just very connecting. Just the romance was the only thing that kind of threw this book off for me. The next book is actually the duet to If We Ever Meet Again. It's If the Sun Never Sets. This is still about Blake and Farrah, but it's them in their older years. On the first page of If We Never Meet Again, it's the prologue is them breaking up, and then you kind of like figure out why throughout the other book, and then you get this one, which is them broken up. A couple years later, they're meeting again, and you're kind of in this forced proximity, them kind of having to be together, them learning about each other again. You're kind of seeing Blake really want to be with Farrah again, but if Farrah will take him back and kind of give him that trust that she really lost. I really enjoyed this one for what it was. There was so much that you kind of learn. There was just some miscommunication in here that I did not like, which is kind of why I didn't really love it, but I did enjoy this one. You're kind of seeing the groveling, them kind of making up, at least hopefully becoming friends. There's a lot more friendship in this one. There's still some of the Shanghai friendships. You kind of see a glimpse into other people's world, and I definitely really enjoyed that about this book. Then we get to my last Anna Huang book that is traditionally published, I believe. And if there are any more traditionally published Anna Huang books, let me know. I want to read them. But for now, this is the last one that I know about. We have If Love Had a Price. I gave this one a 4 stars. It was kind of in the running with some of my other Anna Huang books that I really enjoyed. I loved Chris and Nate. Nate was everything. He was so fun, and you're kind of seeing him grow into like what he'll become. Oh my gosh, so cute. Him and Chris were like everything in this book, and I really enjoyed their dynamic and their banter in here. I think the way that Anna Huang wrote this though was a little different for me. It was a little insta-lovey, but also not insta-lovey at the same time, so I couldn't really figure out where I wanted them to be. In If Love Had a Price, you have Chris and Nate. Chris is this kind of rich, spoiled, young, little bratty girl. Her father's fiance, almost stepmother, but just call her stepmother, is very like gold digger. She does not like her. One day she finds Nate and she's like, for $15,000, will you try to get with my stepmother so I can show my dad that he should not be with her? And Nate's like, what? And then they kind of make a bargain. There's this bargain that goes on, and you really just see like the forced proximity, the fake dating, him trying to make a life for himself, but also try to help Chris. Let's get into the last book I read in July, which was Happiness for Beginners by Catherine Center. I ate this book up. I devoured this book. This was a 4 stars, but I really liked it. There was so much theme in here. I did not expect to love the plot of this one as much as I did. There was just so much character. I love the way Catherine Center writes. Actually, this one is signed, so I'm gonna get hanging shelves. We'll talk about that. Okay, I'm not gonna bore y'all with the details, but I'm gonna get hanging shelves and I'm gonna put up some of the signed books that I have. That's not for this video. There's just something about slice of like life. It's like a slice of life, kind of like where you like go a day by day and kind of just learn about a character, because this book was like a month, so I feel like that's kind of slice of life. I really liked Catherine Center's writing because I was not focused on the romance. When it happened, I really like enjoyed those little parts of it. I would not go into this book for romance. I would go into it more like you're learning about the female main character, and she's really like the plot of this book. In Happiness for Beginners, you have Helen, who just got a divorce, and she is kind of wanting to become something that she's never been. She wants to learn how to be herself. She wants to come out of her shell. So she ends up signing up for like this deadly hike. And the entire book, you are really like, you are seeing her go on a hike. And you don't think you would love it until you read it and you're like, oh my gosh, this was like so good. Like you literally eat it up. Go on this deadly trail hike, kind of learn about herself, grow into the person she becomes at the end of the book, where there's also like little bits of romance, there's a lot of friendship, and I just really enjoyed it. I think I read it at a really good time, like after reading a lot of crazy Anna Huang books, like reading just like a slice of life, like learn about yourself, kind of watch a female character grow and figure out who she is after something has happened to her, like family, like traumatic past. There's like obviously like a lot of things that go on in Helen's life, so just kind of seeing her figure that all out was so beautiful, and kind of just seeing people come out of their shells. So those are my ratings and reviews on the 11 books that I read this month. If y'all are thinking about reading any Anna Huang books, I definitely recommend. Reckless was super fun, and I really enjoyed Catherine Center's writing. Now let's get into my August TBR. My August TBR is going to be kind of a quick one. I'm just going to run y'all through some of the books that I have. I don't know if I totally want to read them. Like this is just like very loose, and I don't know if I'm going to get to any of these this month, especially because I'm going back to school, so I'm going to be very busy with that. But I do have a novel love story by Ashley Poston. I think this is super fun, and it's like very romancy, and I want to get into it. And I have Business Casual by B.K. Borison. This is the 4th book in the Love Light Farm series, which I just finished a couple months ago, so I definitely want to get to this one. Next, I have The Match by Sarah Adams, which looks very quick and it's small. It's like a revised version of something that she wrote before, and it's like republished, so I definitely want to get to this one. I then have another quick little short read, which is Body Check by Elle Kennedy. I really enjoy Elle Kennedy's hockey romances, so I think I want to get to this one soon. Lastly, have Hello Stranger. This was on my July TBR before I started getting like all my other books, but it's also signed by Catherine Center, so I super want to get to it, and I think I will pick this one up maybe later into August. The last book that I have on hand is The Art of Catching Feelings by Alicia Thompson. These are just like a quick little overview of some of the books that I bought in July that I thought I'd read in July, but hopefully we'll either get to in August or September. Then some of the books that I don't have on hand, I want to read The Fiancé Dilemma by Elena Armas. I've read multiple books by Elena Armas that I really enjoy, so I definitely want to get into this one. We have The Grandest Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I don't know if I'm going to get to this. This might be like an October read, just because that's kind of when I read The Inheritance Games, and that's seems more of a time that I'd read it, but we'll see. I definitely want to get to this one. I just don't know if I'm very intrigued with the story yet, because I found out that it's not Grayson. That was a quick little overview of stuff that I could read. I don't really stick to TBRs. This is just stuff that I have on me or books that I know I want to read. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. There are other monthly wrap-ups that y'all could watch if you want to stick with those. If you want to see a vlog, I had a vlog just come out where I went to UCA cheer camp. And if you don't want to watch UCA cheer camp, I do have a hopeful vlog coming out. I don't know. I'm not going to give y'all what it is because I don't know if it's totally going to come out, but I have a vlog that I want to film. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for coming to my little library. Bye. See you later.